Hello everybody, we are here at Dermatology Specialists of Illinois in Barrington. We have our physician assistant Marianne Rao here with us, and we are doing a live question and answer session today all about ThermiVa. So anybody who joins on to listen, feel free to type in some questions and Marianne will be more than happy to answer them for you. Take it away, Marianne.
Thank you so much, Heather. Well, today is International Women's Day, so I think that's a spectacular day to go ahead and talk about ThermiVa. So ThermiVa uses radio frequency technology, and it's really an amazing tool that helps us develop vaginal health and vaginal rejuvenation. So one of the questions I feel like I get very often is, why would I come to a derm office ultimately to have vaginal rejuvenation? Why wouldn't I go to, say, my gynecologist? And that is a completely legitimate question to ask. The truth of the matter is ThermiVa essentially was developed for skin tightening, and that's where the radio frequency technology was originally implemented. So we do have another applicator for the machine that allows us to use it around the eyes, around the neck, around those, that perioral area to develop skin tightening. And this additional application is what led us to vaginal rejuvenation. So just like we can tighten the skin around the eyes, the face, and the neck, we can also apply it to vaginal mucosa. And so that ultimately has sort of a twofold application. For one, it helps improve a lot of the symptoms we develop as we age. Vaginal dryness, stress urinary incontinence, things that are associated with sort of waning levels, decreasing levels of estrogen. And so in addition to that, we can also treat the skin. So like the labia minora, the labia majora, just the aesthetics of the vagina and that vaginal tissue. Over time, it loses collagen, and over time, it sags. And so I think one of my ThermiVa patients put it best when she said, Marianne, I want you to work on the outside of my vagina today. I want plump lips. And that's a possibility with this machine, which is very cool. So let me show you what the machine kind of involves. So this is the machine right here. This is my foot pump that helps me to sort of get it started and then to stop in between if I need to pause at any time. We use ultrasound gel so that we can make it comfortable. So obviously that's a lubrication, so that we can make it very comfortable. Most patients, wonder, is it painful? Obviously, with lasers and treatments, that's a cause for concern. But the truth of the matter is it's a fairly comfortable procedure. It does ultimately emanate heat. That heat causes some cells to denature, and that's ultimately how we stimulate healing, and we get vaginal tightening and improvement in the vaginal mucosa. But most of my patients honestly say it's fairly comfortable. We usually sit here for about 40 minutes and kind of chit-chat through the process. So in addition, what does the treatment regimen sort of entail, right? And so the treatment regimen is typically threefold. We do one treatment 1 month apart, 3 months in a row. And then we typically want to do a maintenance treatment thereafter. So yearly maintenance after that. Let me show you what the applicator looks like. So this is an applicator, and I'll go ahead and open it so you guys can kind of get a look at it. And don't be alarmed, it does look fairly large, and I think patients are like, oh my gosh, does that have to be inserted all the way? And it doesn't. It's just there because we all come in different sizes, and so that allows us to accommodate all types of patients. And so this is what our applicator looks like. And again, it's very comfortable. You see that it's very slim in size, so it doesn't, end up causing a lot of discomfort. And then this is ultimately where the heat emanates from, and so we keep it moving throughout the course so that we don't develop any areas that are particularly hot, and so we keep it comfortable during the whole treatment session.
Marianne, how long does ThermiVa usually last after your full cycle of treatments?
That's a great question. So, you come, you do the 3-step process, and then it's like, when can you expect your results, and how long will those results last for you? And I always say the results are ultimately yours to keep, right? So As your body heals over the course of 3 months after your final treatment, you will notice improvement in vaginal dryness, less stress urinary incontinence. You will notice that improvement and it's yours to keep. What can you do to maintain it? You can do sort of Kegel exercises, you can do your yearly maintenance treatments, but it's not something that ultimately wears off, right? I mean, we've all gotten Botox and fillers and such, and those do have sort of a time span where you need a maintenance treatment after that. But this is not something that's ultimately going to wear off. It's yours to keep. How you heal and what you derive, those benefits are yours.
Perfect. And is this covered by insurance at all?
Well, that's a really good question. Unfortunately, it is not covered by insurance. So it is sort of considered a cosmetic procedure in that sense, despite that it has this sort of plethora of benefits, I think, medically. But it is unfortunately not covered by insurance. But I always joke, if you have a spouse or a significant other, they will typically pay for it. Because there are some, obvious benefits in terms of intimacy. And so that's kind of a subject that is a little bit harder to discuss. People don't necessarily want to talk about that as openly, but certainly with vaginal tightening, there is improvement in the ability to climax. And so intimacy really does sort of benefit as well.
Great. We've had a whole bunch of people just hop on recently here. So can you just again explain kind of what we're talking about, just the general process of ThermiVa and what it does?
Definitely. So ThermiVa uses radio frequency technology, and so ultimately it was developed originally in the spectrum of dermatology for skin tightening, and then the application sort of moved on to the vaginal mucosa, which is why you may show up at a derm office to get vaginal rejuvenation. But ultimately what it does is it uses heat that emanates through this applicator, and that warm heat ultimately will denature some cells and ultimately cause healing, and that will improve a plethora of symptoms. So you will get vaginal tightening, you will notice less vaginal dryness, stress urinary incontinence will be reduced, and ultimately the things that sort of, we worry about as women, as we age and we lose some estrogen, that becomes, in short supply, and so this helps us to sort of regain what we potentially lost.
Great. Would there be any patients who would not be candidates for ThermiVa?
Yes, that's also a great question. And, I used to work in gynecology, and so I can easily, obviously, examine a patient and decide who is and who is not a candidate. But mostly if you have sort of a significant prolapse, then you would not be a candidate for this procedure. But otherwise, most people are candidates. We examine them before we decide, and so we do a consultation, and the consultation is free. But ultimately, what we want to do is we want to sort of help patients derive all of those benefits. If vaginal dryness is a concern, if we feel like there's vaginal laxity because patients have had, large babies or multiple babies, or perhaps they spend a lot of time on their feet and their pelvic muscular structures are sort of compromised over time as a consequence, this can really benefit them. And stress urinary incontinence, if all of us kind of do more intense, well, I should say not me, I don't do very intense exercises, I probably should, but a lot of people do very intense exercises, and so sometimes patients will tell me that they'll notice a little bit of urine is lost with those intense exercises. This can sort of help rectify that. So there's so many benefits and many life applications, I would say.
Great. After this series of procedures, is there things that patients can do to maintain their results and keep it going? Are there any future treatments that would be needed, going forward, or?
Yes, and so kind of as I explained earlier, with the treatment protocol, we do treatments that are 1 month apart, and we typically do 3 in a row. And then we typically recommend a 1-year maintenance treatment thereafter. Now, in between that time, doing Kegel exercises are going to help you maintain your results. It's hard, I feel like, to be really good about our Kegel exercises, but they are a thing and they are really important to vaginal health. But I find that those maintenance treatments, whether they're 6 months apart or a year apart, they're very kind of patient dependent. But patients really do come back for those maintenance treatments, and I have found those very valuable because that's when I get direct feedback from my patients who tell me like how long the results are lasting, what a difference this has made in their lives. Again, because there's just such a plethora of applications.
Great. And anybody who's watching here, if you have any questions for Marianne, feel free to type them in the comments here. We're watching, and we can definitely answer your specific questions too. Marianne, what's the difference between treating the outside of the area versus the inside?
Right. So that's good. So typically when you come to have your procedure, we give you a 40-minute time span for your treatment process. And I really leave it up to my patients in terms of how they want to divide that time. If they want to focus primarily on the inside, then the benefits they're going to derive are essentially there as well. So that would be more vaginal tightening, more vaginal lubrication, improvement in things like the stress urinary incontinence. But there are some patients who are a bit self-conscious about the outside of the vagina, the vaginal lips, and they want to find those lips perhaps less saggy, a little bit more taut. And so that's when we can focus on the outside. And so I have patients who allocate all 40 minutes to the inside. I have patients who just evenly split it, where we do 20 minutes outside, 20 minutes inside. And I have patients who sort of, kind of play it by ear, where every treatment they come, based upon their response and the improvements that they've noticed, they will sort of adjust it accordingly. But we will oblige with whatever, wherever you want us to focus. Ultimately, our goal is to make our patients happy.
Great. And this procedure is 100% safe?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's a very good question. Yes. So this procedure is very safe. In fact, the machine is probably smarter than me. I like to get my patients the best results possible, and so I tend to put the machine at the highest temperature possible. But you cannot burn a patient using this machine. It has sensors, and so it will actually bark at us if anything were to be an issue. So it's completely safe, and FDA approved, and so there is really no issues. I think that there are some other lasers that potentially have been associated with some burns and some negative aspects, but thankfully, the ThermiVa has not been cited as one of those machines. And then from personal experience, I've been here at Dermatology Specialists of Illinois for going on 6 years now, and we've had absolutely no issues.
Awesome. And is there anything that patients need to do to prep for the procedure before they come in?
Yes. So typically what we say is, we have you use the restroom beforehand just to make sure that your bladder isn't full and so that you're comfortable during the procedure itself. But really in terms of prep work, it becomes important if you want to focus on the outside versus the inside. So if you want to focus on the outside, we want the applicator to have good coverage, and so we typically will have you either shave or wax the area just so the applicator can smoothly be applied to the outside. If you don't want to focus on the outside at all, then that doesn't become relevant and we just kind of stick with the inside. But yeah, we do say if you want to treat the outside that we would have you maybe shave or wax beforehand.
Okay, great. And I, one last question here. I know you said it was cosmetic, insurance doesn't cover it, but we're currently running a special for March Madness.
Yes. Yeah, that's the exciting thing that's going on at Dermatology Specialists of Illinois right now. We love March for that reason, is it's our one opportunity to sort of, pass on some savings to patients. So we're super excited about that. So if you come in, again, the consultation is completely free, but for March Madness, you do have a cost savings that's associated with the month of March, and we're excited to do that for patients. So definitely, if you've had sort of any inkling of concern, like if at any point in time you felt like, I do have some vaginal dryness, or maybe I do have some dyspareunia, or, I have a little bit of discomfort with intercourse, or, I have noticed some vaginal laxity, or maybe I just want to improve the intimacy between me and my significant other. This is really the time to take advantage of it. I will say that this machine is not available everywhere. I have patients who drive down from the city. I have people who, come from all sorts of directions because this machine isn't necessarily at every office. And so we're very fortunate here. Dr. Khanna has supplied us with a lot of sort of tools in our toolbox. And this is just one of them that we're really excited about. And so definitely come on down and let's talk. Let's see if you're a candidate. Let's help you sort of improve your quality of life. I feel like that's a really big thing here at Dermatology Specialists of Illinois. We want to make people happy, and we want them to really have a great quality of life.
Perfect. That's great. And we do offer complimentary consultations.
Yes.
Even if you're not able to make it into the office for your consultation, Marianne is able to do phone consults, video visits, where you can speak one-on-one with her. So, we have a wide variety of different options and things like that to make sure, that this is right for you and we can get you scheduled. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Marianne, or?
I would just say, if this has ever been a concern, definitely take advantage of this. I think that it's National Women's Day, right? I mean, we as women tend to put everybody before ourselves. We tend to take care of everybody. I feel like I certainly do that myself. And I think it's a good opportunity to finally sort of put yourself first and take care of yourself. And this is an excellent way, especially in terms of preventative medicine. Over time, things break down, tissue breaks down, and we have a way of rejuvenating that, which is kind of spectacular. So take 40 minutes out of your day and sort of dedicate it to yourself and improving your own health. And come on down to DSI and check us out. I think you'd really like us.
Sounds good. And I left our phone number in the comments here, so you can call us, text us. We'd be happy to get you scheduled. Hope everybody has a great day. Thanks, Marianne.